Okay, I'm Grayson, and this is my presentation on human immunity. First of all, we're going to take a look at the content. We've got section 1, skin barriers to infection, thymus, lymph nodes, lymphatic ducts, macrophages, pathogens. Section 2, we're going to take a look at acquired immunity, roles of the immune cells, tissues, organ transplants, biology of vaccination, scientific factors, vaccine safety, herd immunity. We're going to take a look at the flu vaccine, MMR, and the Hep B vaccine. And then in section 4, we're going to finish on immune sensitivity, ill health, and reducing the risk of allergies. So into section 1. So the skin and inflammation. So the skin is part of the integumentary system. This includes the hair and the nails. It's the largest organ of the body with a total area of approximately 20 square feet. The skin's made up of 3 major layers. So we've got the epidermis, that's the outermost layer. This creates our skin tone and it provides a waterproof barrier. And then we've got the dermis. So the dermis, it lies beneath the epidermis. It contains tough connective tissue, hair follicles and sweat glands. And then at the bottom, you've got the subcutaneous tissue, and that forms the deepest section. It's made of fat and connective tissues. So inflammation, it's a part of a complex biological response to harmful stimuli. Things such as pathogens, damaged cells, and irritants. So what are the barriers to infection? So our body has a number of orifices, each of which has its own method of protection against infection. You've got the mucous membranes. That's the lining of the mouth, the nose, and the eyelids. They're coated with secretions that fight microorganisms. Membranes of the eyes are suffused in tears, which contain an enzyme called lysosome. This attacks bacteria and helps protect the eyes from infection. And then you've got the airways. Inhaled particles are filtered out. Microorganisms in the air stick to the mucus within the nose and airways. The cilia sweep the mucus up the airways away from the lungs. And then you've got the digestive tract. So this uses stomach acid, pancreatic enzymes, bile, and intestinal secretions. So these kill bacteria and prevent them from multiplying, so therefore give a protection of that. Then you've got the urinary tracts. So the bladder, both in male and female, is protected by the urethra. When the bladder empties, it flushes out any bacteria that reach it. So in women, the vagina is naturally acidic. The acidity of the vagina prevents harmful bacteria from growing, and it helps maintain the number of protective bacteria. So on to the next. We're going to look at thymus, lymph nodes, and lymphatic ducts. So the thymus, it's located behind your sternum, in between your lungs, as you can see from the diagram. It's only active until puberty, and this is when it reaches its maximum weight, which is only about 1 ounce. The hormone that's produced is thymosin. It's necessary for T cell development and production. Once T cells are fully matured in the thymus, they migrate to the lymph nodes throughout the body, and this is where they aid the immune system in fighting disease. Some lymphocytes can develop into cancers such as Hodgkin's disease and non-Hodgkin lymphomas, and it plays a significant role in your long-term health. And here's just a structure of the thymus. Taking a look at the vein, the artery, and the lymph duct that runs through. So lymph nodes, they're small bean-shaped glands, and they're located in clusters throughout the body. The 600 lymph nodes reside along the lymph channels. These sieve off harmful substances brought by the lymphatic channels. The lymph nodes contain 2 regions, the cortex and the medulla. The cortex collects the lymphocytes. These contain predominantly B lymphocytes and some T. Lymph nodes contain immune cells that can help fight infection by attacking and destroying germs that are carried in through the lymph fluid. Each lymph node filters the fluid and substances picked up by the vessels that lead to it. So the lymphatic ducts. So the lymphatic vessel that empties lymph into one of the subclavian veins. There are 2 lymph ducts in the body. So you've got the right lymphatic duct and the thoracic duct. The right lymphatic duct drains lymph from the right upper limb, right side of the thorax, and right halves of the head and neck. The thoracic duct drains the lymph into the circulatory system at the left brachiocephalic vein between the left subclavian and the left internal jugular veins. Macrophages and pathogens. So what are they and what do they do? They are white blood cells of the immune system. They ingest necrotic cells, debris, foreign material, including viruses, bacteria, and even tattoo ink, part of the innate immune system. Macrophages are the first line of immune defense against invading pathogens. And pathogens are recognized by a variety of immune cells. Macrophages and dendritic cells react to pathogen-associated molecular patterns, PAMPs for short. On the pathogen surface, these interact with complementary pattern recognition receptors, PRRs, on the immune cell surface. Upon binding of the PRRs and PAMPs, immune cells release cytokines to tell other cells to start fighting back. It's the cytokines such as interferons that warn nearby uninfected cells of impending infection. This then causes the cells to start splitting RNA, to reduce protein synthesis, and signal nearby infected cells to undergo apoptosis. What do they look like? Due to the function of the white blood cells, they don't have a set shape, unlike the red blood cells, which have a set concave shape. White blood cells are constantly fighting illness, so therefore they are forever changing. They're consuming bacteria via phagocytosis. During this process, they move around the bacteria and they engulf it, as you can see in the diagram below. Here's the virus. A white blood cell comes in, engulfs, forever changing shape. It combats the virus and it gets rid of the waste material. It'd be really hard to do this process if there was one set shape. So as I said, it's forever changing. Section 2. So immunity. So acquired immunity is what our body gains over time. It generates special characters called antibodies. These neutralize the harmful toxins produced by pathogens. So acquired immunity doesn't host natural barriers like natural immunity. Our body learns how to target and destroy specific pathogens when these pathogens invade our body. So antigens. Antigens, they're substances that are foreign to the body. These cause an immune response. Usually antigens are things we want removed, like a virus. Antibodies can attack a usually harmless substance that in most people would not trigger an immune system to swing into action. There are many substances in the air, people breathe, food they eat, and things they touch that can cause this reaction. So when this occurs, people are said to have allergies or a sensitivity to an antigen. So organ transplant. So the immune system has the ability to discriminate between self and non-self cells in the body. The lack of an immune response against the body's own tissue is known as tolerance. So what happens? An organ is transplanted into the body. The immune system recognises it as foreign material and therefore it attempts to attack it. If this immune response then that leads to the it is this immune response that then leads to the transplant being rejected. So why does that happen? The rejection of a transplant is primarily due to the immune response of the T lymphocytes, the T cells that we spoke about earlier. They attempt to attack and destroy any foreign material in the body because it sees it as something bad. After being stimulated by the presence of an antigen, the T cells reproduce by mitosis, producing a large number of cells that can attack the foreign material. Most immunosuppressants work by interfering with their proliferation. So what can help? Immunosuppressants. So immunosuppressive drugs can help the body from attacking it. So it prevents the body from attacking it. So then it can encourage our body to accept that new organ. So the cells of the immune system, they're categorised as lymphocytes, T cells, B cells and NK cells, neutrophils, monocytes, macrophages, and they're all types of white blood cells. You can see here. Bone marrow, most of the cells of the immune system are produced here as immature stem cells. And then you've got stem cells, have the potential to differentiate and mature into different cells in the immune system. Thymus, as we said, located in the chest, which instructs immature lymphocytes to become mature. B cells, lymphocytes arise in the bone marrow and differentiate into plasma cells that turn and produce immunoglobulins. Oxytocin T cells, so lymphocytes that are mature in the thymus and are responsible for killing infected cells. You've got helper T cells over here. And these specialised lymphocytes assist other T and B cells to perform their function. Plasma cells. Have you got this one? So these develop from B cells and make immunoglobulin for the serum and secretions. Immunoglobulin, highly specialised protein molecules, antibodies, fight foreign antigens. Neutrophils, found in the bloodstream, rapidly ingest microorganisms and kill them. Monocytes, down here. So, phagocytic cell in the bloodstream develops into a macrophage when it migrates to tissue. Red blood cells found in the bloodstream, they carry oxygen to the lungs and the tissue, so very, very important. Platelets, small cells in the bloodstream, important in blood clotting. And then last, you've got dendritic cells. They're important cells in presenting antigen to immune system cells. So on to section 3 now. So active immunity exposes the body to an antigen to generate an adaptive immune response. Can take days, weeks to develop, but it could be long lasting. It's usually classified as acquired. Passive immunity provides antibodies to protect against infection. It's immediate, but it is short-lived. It's usually classified as natural or acquired. Transfer of maternal tetanus antibody via the placenta, it provides natural passive immunity for a newborn baby for several weeks or months until the antibody is degraded and lost. So acquired passive immunity is a process of obtaining serum from immune individuals, combining this, concentrating the immunoglobulin fraction and then injecting it to protect a susceptible person. As we can see from the diagram, you've got just an example of active and passive immunity. So what are there are scientific factors that affect our immunity. So host factors, age, so malfunctioning of our innate immune system, cellular receptors, involution of the thymus, it reduces T cell population. Comorbidity as well, so if our body's fighting more than one virus at a time, vaccines tend to be much less effective in patients when the immune system is overwhelmed or overloaded. And time since vaccination. Duration of immunity varies between disease and vaccines. Vaccines are recommended at different times of life, and often booster shots are recommended. Vaccine characteristics is another factor. So the method of route into the body, so you've got oral route, subcutaneous route, and intramuscular route. So live versus inactive as well. Live vaccines are derived from disease-causing bacteria or viruses. Culture them in a laboratory attenuates them. After being injected live, attenuated vaccines grow and replicate inside the vaccinated person's body, and that produces an immune response. Inactive vaccine, consisting of killed or inactive forms of the pathogen, killed with either heat chemicals like formalin or radiation. These vaccines function when the immune system responds to the introduction of the virus, matched to circulating strains, and making sure that you've got the right vaccine for the right virus. Vaccine safety. So vaccine safeties go through a process. If a vaccine being tested fails the basic safety test, it won't go on to the clinical trials. But the clinical trials happen in 3 different phases. You've got number 1, it's administered to a small number of healthy adults. The primary goal of this is assessing safety. Phase 2 is administered to a larger number of recipients with the intention of determining how effective the vaccine is in mounting an immune response. Optimal dose is also determined at this stage. Phase 3 aims to demonstrate both safety and protection against the target. Is also after this that the vaccine has passed each of these 3 stages, the efficiency hurdles, it is approved for widespread use. Even after it's gone through these phases, sometimes side effects can come out later on when it's given to the wider population. So herd immunity, what are the benefits? So vaccinate a large number of people. If you vaccinate a large number of people, herd immunity gives protection to vulnerable people such as newborn babies, elderly, and those who are too sick to be vaccinated. It does not protect against all vaccine preventable diseases, and it only works if people in the population are vaccinated. If they're not, herd immunity is not guaranteed to protect them. So as you can see, nobody is immunised. Contagious disease spread throughout the population. Some people immunised, unfortunately, still spreads throughout the population. Most of the population gets immunised. The spread of contagious disease is contained. So the effectiveness. Flu vaccine, it reduces a risk of flu illnesses by 40 and 60%. The MMR vaccine. 2 doses of the MMR vaccine are 97% effective against measles, 88 against mumps, 99 against rubella. 1 dose, it drops slightly, but not massively. You've got 93% against measles, 78% against mumps, and 97% against rubella. So the Hep B vaccine, completion of 3-dose series of Hep B, over 90% of individuals will develop antibodies during this time. All vaccines stimulate artificial temporary immunity. Individuals may need further booster dose to protect them. All the individuals that receive the booster dose respond rapidly with the antibodies. It's indicative of immunological memory, and exposure to hepatitis B should result in rapid antibody response. Immune system and disorders. So primary immune deficiency, born with a weak immune system. Acquired immune deficiency, a disease that weakens your immune system. Overactive immune system, it may be caused due to an allergic reaction